Hello and welcome to the SCOUTCAST. It's Christmas, and before we get to the new year, blanks and doubles, there's some festive fixtures to deal with in Game Week 15. So hopefully we'll be here to help. My name is Joe.
My name is Ats.
And my name is Seb.
Welcome everyone. Welcome Az. Welcome Seb back again. A few weeks back you were here. But yeah, great to see you back again. Az, what's coming up in the show?
Well, we've had some more fixture news about the League Cup, which may affect some of our chip plans. Problems at the back for Chelsea. I've been a victim of that this week, and Leeds as well. But Liverpool's fullbacks are starting to deliver in some way back to their best. There's game weeks to look back on first, although once again I wish we wouldn't bother. We're off with the smooths, which might cheer me up a bit. Festive fixtures, captaincy, and transfer plans to talk about.
Excellent, thanks so much for that. Right, what we're going to do is we've got lots to talk about, obviously. So we're going to crack on with, I'm going to look at our game week so far. We all did pretty well, so that was good. I've seen some huge scores floating around, some 90s and 100s. I finished the game.
We all did pretty averagely, to be fair.
Average? No, I think.
Yeah, I feel like we did well compared to that little average number that tells me
I think you'll
60
find the average was 60
compared to Twitter,
and I personally got 75, so I did 15 points above average. So I'm above average, and I think we all are. We all got above average. So let's not put ourselves down here. This is okay. It's okay. So for the benefit of those listening on the podcast, I've got McCarthy, Kufal, Taylor, who was new in. For Ayling, I just had enough of all the Leeds defenders are scoring except Ayling, so I've had enough of Ayling, and swapped him for Taylor. So I was almost going to get a haul from him if they hadn't conceded in the 89th minute. But anyway, Chilwell 1 point, De Bruyne 5 points, Soucek back to early season Soucek. He can't score every week, so just 2 there. Salah 16 off the bench, lovely. Not my bench, the bench. Fernandez, captain, 34, very happy. Calvert-Lewin, still ticking along. Bamford, a blank, but, he can't score every week either. And Kane with a blank there. I had Lamptey all ready to play, and, just didn't happen. Didn't happen for me. So Kufal came in for Lamptey. Looking ahead, we'll talk about our teams at the end of the show, but obviously we've got the blanks and the double game weeks to think about. We've got further blanks and double game weeks to think about. Plus, we have some very good fixtures over the festive period to think about. So lots to think about, and I have some plans, so I'll talk about those as we go along. Seb, you did really well as well. Not average at all. Average was 60. You got 73. Sanchez.
Wow.
3-4-3. Sanchez, Chilwell, Ayling. So you could have got 74 if it wasn't for Ayling.
Did you see he came off the bench for Lamptey, and I had Kilman just behind him on the bench, which is that's just careless. There's nothing else for that. That is just
it's only
careless.
1 or 2 points, but I always find in fancy Premier League particularly, I really rate getting those cheeky 1 points here and there more than like getting a big haul sometimes. Robertson. A defender we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah, that's nice.
10 points, nice. Grealish, 10 points. Fernandez, 17. De Bruyne, who you captained. So, huge score, I think, above the average, but still sort of not captaining the best player, getting De Bruyne.
I think that's the difference, right? Between maybe feeling, all right, it was okay, but nothing too spectacular.
Yeah.
If I'd captained either Salah or Fernandez, I end up with a much bigger score.
And then Salah has gone off the bench, Calvert-Lewin, Watkins and Bamford. Nothing really on the bench. Nice. Yeah, so pretty happy with that. Seeing Robertson in there, you're so ahead of the curve. He's gone off the template and he's going to be back on probably.
Ahead of the curve, behind the curve. I think I've had him since game week 1. I don't think he's gone anywhere.
You're hipster, not just ahead of the curve.
Patient, I think is the word.
I started with him and Trent, similar to how I did last year. Simply, we discussed this to death over the summer, but simply based on the fact that those two combined, you play them week in, week out. Over a period of time, you'd expect the returns. Obviously, Trent was maybe underperforming a bit. Liverpool's defence was. Van Dijk got injured. Trent got injured. But through all that, I've held Robertson simply because, I've not had the transfers to take him out. And all the way he's had the underlying stats, and their fixtures have never been awful, I haven't seen a reason to get rid of him. And Very, very happy still to have him there.
Yeah, well, I wish I had still had him. Have a look at that.
Sanchez, Seb?
Oh, okay. So are we...
What's the story of him?
Oh, now we're talking
What
about
is the
Sanchez.
story? Okay, so I had 2 free transfers going into this week. And I dillied and dallied and looked at blank game weeks and double game weeks and thought, I'll just keep going, see what happens later. I don't have my first wild card. So I felt like, I've got to maybe use some transfers for this. Had 2 free transfers, as I said, saved them smartly. And then maybe use them a little bit late, a little bit not that smartly. I'm okay with Sanchez. Talk about that in a sec. But really, it was the Salah news on Saturday morning. We thought, okay, maybe he's not going to play. I had Basuma on the bench in place of Soucek, which didn't feel like a great replacement. Maybe 2 points. Soucek got 2 as well. But going forward, it kind of highlighted that if Lamptey's going to remain injured, Chilwell's now got injured, Kilman wasn't playing at the time, Eiling, maybe I don't rely on him. I was looking a little thin on the bench. So I wanted to sort that bench out with someone who I knew would come in and could even get points. And I had Guaita in goal, who, if you look back at Crystal Palace's fixtures, I have no idea how he hasn't had a clean sheet. His expected goals prevented last season was, I think he was second top, something like that. He was about 7. This year he's flipped it. He's about 3 below and nearly the bottom of the table. Of course, it's quite a loose metric. There's a lot that goes into that. But from going from top to bottom clearly shows something has gone wrong. And it was the same time that everyone else chose Martinez. So I just went the wrong way there. I wanted to sort that out finally. Guaita actually ended up getting minus points this weekend, didn't he? Although Eiling made that up for me. I went Sanchez because Brighton's defence, as we've seen statistically, have probably been underperforming. And if you think the reason for that has been Matt Ryan, who, by the way, is bottom of that expected goals prevented table, the guy who comes in to replace him is possibly going to make saves and make the difference in a defence that has been okay and get me some clean sheet points.
It's sound logic. I just don't. I think we're awful.
Yeah, I mean,
I love the logic. It's great.
I think your reaction there is probably perfect. Like when I made this, I think if you saw on Twitter, I was discussing with a few people with about 15 minutes to go, and in the end, it was one of those, oh goodness, I just need to do something. I'd probably rather still have one of my free transfers. I made a move that was okay, but probably hasn't helped me that much in the long term. It's probably kept me about par for the course, which maybe sums up my season so far, and especially me going into these weeks that we're going to talk about soon.
He's a risky one.
I don't know.
He's a risky one, but he should keep his place now, Sanchez, because he did well against Sheffield United.
Well, it's his place to
lose. He
lose.
had a better game than Ryan's had. Yeah.
I mean,
do you reckon you might sign a replacement in January, or do you think it's his to lose?
It's his to lose.
I think now.
Yeah, it's his to lose. Ryan's now the backup until until he claims it back again somehow. But Sanchez...
And the absolute crucial thing for me was I wanted someone who played in the blank. I don't know what I'm doing yet, as I've said. So I just want to keep treading water, meaning I can go either way. Yeah,
no, I think that's a good move at the moment. Until we know any more, he's definitely playing. I was, Brighton fans are. I mean, being a Brighton fan for obviously many years, remember the really bad days of ground sharing at Gillingham and scraping a draw at Hereford in front of a cow on the final day and keeping league status. So for me to be in the Premier League is amazing, but their humour is dying a little bit. And there was a friend of mine who was actually at the Amex watching the game, and I was we were texting each other a little bit, and I just did a joke about was he called Jolyon Bogle, the guy that scored for Sheffield United.
Oh, Jayden Bogle, I think.
Jayden Bogle, that's it. So I went mind-boggling goal, and as you do as a dad, making the gags. And he said no, it was quite a substandard goal actually. So it's like the humour is just gone at the Amex. They're just not happy at the moment.
If you could go down and give us Ben White, that would be much appreciated.
No, he said no. We're staying. No. I don't know. I don't want to talk about Brighton anymore. So let's have a look at your team. Above average, 67 is still really good though.
Oh, above average. This whole thing about getting 50 points a week is such a load of rubbish.
Well, no, this week it's
I've had
60.
more than 50 weeks. I've had more than 50 points every week since game week 7. And in that time, I've gone from 1.8 million to 1.5 million. This week, I got 67 points and I went up 4,000 places from 1.554 million to 1.550 million. What is the point? What is the point of this game?
Well,
I hate it.
I mean, I've gone up 3 million in the last 7 weeks. So
Well, good for you.
But
I'm glad you're doing so
I haven't
well.
been getting these, million scores, whatever people are getting, posting up on Twitter. I've just been chucking along as well with my 50s and 60s.
I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? And I think if you look at, it's not a finite number of points that are available. It changes. Go back to the old days of the Premier League with 2 points available or what have you. If you look at your season history, there's sometimes that entertaining thing where you finish, say, 5,000th, and you look next season and you finish 25,000th, but got 50 more points. Yeah.
I think also I always put with 50, and I don't consider 50 a good game week. I consider it not a bad one. If you've got below 50, you can look at that. No matter what the average is, you just know that's like going to be like either at best okay, but probably rubbish.
If I got 50 this week, I probably would have gone down about 500,000 places.
But if you get 60 in a game week, well, this week was a very high scoring game week, but 60 I would consider that's not bad. And I think if you can get 67, I also think of Christmas as a sort of a mini season. It definitely is. I mean, what have we got now? We've got 3 fixed set of game weeks coming really quick. I just think of them as one big one. So what would you get? You want to average, say, 60 or 70 would be amazing.
No, it doesn't matter what you average. If the average is higher, then it doesn't matter if you average 60. If the average is 90,
but if it just
had a good week, have you?
You've got to set yourself little targets like this, and then hopefully and aim for higher.
See, that's the target thing is interesting because we all say, a bit like rank and points, we all say, okay, top 10k, top 1k, top 100k. What do you actually do to achieve that any different to if you didn't set a target? I'd argue that it's more about, in hindsight, and maybe just for your own head. Yeah. It's not about trying to hit 60, because I'm not going to change what I do to hit 60 points. I want to hit 1,000,000 points.
Yeah.
But when I look back at it, can I just go, okay, it's chill. I got X number of points. I'm okay with that. I'm trucking along. And I think that's the thing for me. Maybe it's Christmas. We all want to enjoy our Christmas day without worrying about points too much.
I want to have, during the season, I want to have some really amazing game weeks. But I'm quite happy to get, average 60 for most of the game weeks. I'd be quite happy with that. But then just have some mega game weeks as well, which is hopefully what we're going to come to with the doubles and blanks as well. But just for the benefit of those listening on the podcast, you got now we're going to come to your defence in a minute. You got Martinez, Ayling, James, and Chilwell, and on your bench you got Lamptey, Mitchell in defence. You've got in midfield you got Fernandes, who you captained, Mahrez. Why is Mahrez still there? Son, Salah, Bamford, Calvert-Lewin, and Adams. So there's going to be a lot of people in your position with the defence. Basically, Chelsea defenders are really great at the moment, except for these two who are injured. And Ayling is the only Leeds defender who can't score. And Lamptey's Lamptey in FPL. Great to look at, but... And obviously Mitchell. So you do have a problem there because you got, what did you get?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah, thank you. I do have a problem there.
No, but lots of people watching will have a problem as well with that. And I've got Chilwell.
Can I just fully state what exactly happened with my defenders?
Yeah.
My defenders this week were Lamptey, James, and Chilwell. They had Sheffield United and then West Ham at home, all at home. Perfect fixtures. Lamptey doesn't play. That means Mitchell would come in. Mitchell doesn't play, so Ayling comes in away at United. Brilliant. James is then out. He's had some lingering problem that no one's ever mentioned in like all of the weeks, but then suddenly the night before the game it's like, oh yeah, obviously James needs to have surgery or whatever, so he's not playing. And then Chilwell gets injured after 18 minutes
on his birthday. It was his birthday.
Five defenders. I averaged 5 defenders. I got 0 points.
Unprecedented.
I got 1 from Chilwell and -1 from Ayling, and the rest got 0. That is awful.
So we are going to come to where your transfer plans are, but that's a biggie. Having no defenders. Well, yeah, no defenders.
It's a bit.
And having minus defenders because of Ayling. Yeah. So. Roughly, what are you going to be spending points? Are you going to?
So I've got 2 million in the bank. So I can do James or Chilwell up to Robertson or Trent.
Right. Okay.
For free. So that's happening.
Great.
The question is what I do with Mahrez, because if Mahrez gets 90 minutes tonight and doesn't play and doesn't get subbed, he's gone. So I'm going to end up taking a -8 and just sorting the whole lot out. Get rid of Mahrez, get rid of James, get rid of Chilwell.
Okay.
Get rid of the lot. Sick of them.
Just
sick of this season, to be honest.
I mean, I just wonder whether you do it, because people will be thinking, would you spend points to do it, or would you just do
I'll take
it
a
gradually?
-8.
-8.
I'll just do it.
Okay.
I'll just do the lot.
Just get it done.
If Mahrez isn't going to play and James and Chilwell are both injured, the points are meaningless, aren't they? Because they're not going to get 0 points between the lot of them. So I might as well just spend some.
And you don't have the wild card, I'm guessing.
Oh no, that would be nice.
Well,
realistically, this is unlucky. Like, I look at your team. There's one player I'd question, which is Mahrez. The rest of it is unfortunate.
Yeah. I should have. If the thing is, I had a decision to make, and it was either bring in, because I could have just done a defender to Diaz, and covered that. But instead, I went for Adams. And looking back, like with hindsight, I was like, why did I go for Adams? Like, I just thought Southampton would score in that game.
Who did you take out for Adams?
Mopay.
I mean, he had to go, didn't he?
Out of the fire into the.
Yeah. And I thought Southampton would get a goal in that, so I didn't really want to get in a defender in a game I thought they were going to concede in. So, but looking back, it would have been the safer.
To be fair, Adams is a really good long-term pick. Southampton have a double.
Yeah, I think so. He's got the double, and he's got Fulham next as well. So
Ings is out injured, so they're going to rely on Adams much more to score. And I believe he was getting the points in while Ings was injured recently.
Yeah,
he was doing
really
well
good.
with Walcott.
So so that's one for the future. But well, let's have before we move on to this the doubles and blanks. Do we have any rough with the smooths?
We do mention? Indeed. Yep. So I mean, it was a really polarizing week. It was either. Well, it wasn't either. I mean, there were some average scores like us, but it was amazing the amount of really good weeks people had and the amount of really bad weeks people had. So just on the smooth, just a shout out to AA3, Galza, Ibra Aguero, Fan of Hippo, HMC, Silicro, Alberto Tomba, all scored over 100 points this week.
Wow.
Good week. Very good week. And there wasn't too many of these little bench things that you like, Joe, but Major League shocker, he got Justin in for James.
I like that though.
You know, I thought you'd like that.
That's
I
good.
thought you'd like that. In terms of the roughs, the big one was Kane. Kane burnt a lot of people. I have to admit, if I'd had him in my team, I would have been half tempted to captain him because he had a really good record against.
He was my vice captain,
Leicester.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that. I know Gianni did that, and like he's okay, but with the other options, I don't know. The whole like record against X team thing is okay, but it feels a lot like confirmation bias and not necessarily based in causality. There was a great stat the other week. I think it might have been Newcastle. The team almost is unimportant, but there was Leeds have lost in the last 10 meetings versus this team. Let's say it was Newcastle. But you look at the last time that stat was from, it was like 2004, then 2002, because obviously we haven't played them in that time because we haven't been in the Premier League. So that stat was completely meaningless unless for some reason our kitman has been there for 20 years and doesn't like that
Leicester
city.
In the last few seasons, though.
But even then, I would say, so while it does have a little bit, is it more important than say what he did last week or the week before?
To be fair, that wasn't the main reason why I would have captained him. I mean, you know, Spurs have been flying, Leicester have been really unpredictable. I don't know. The United Leeds match was interesting because it felt like it was probably going to be a goal fest, but at the same time, I think some people thought maybe Bielsa would have tried to tighten up a little bit and not just played it as like a training game. But
I thought Fernandes might. I mean, Rashford was the one I expected to get all the goals. If you look at how we play and what might hurt us, Kane, like in isolation, I guess Kane was an okay shout. But when you had Salah, Fernandes, and then I went for KDB.
Salah was benched.
So what do I know?
We all kind of knew Salah was going to be benched. That was the rumours coming out. It would have been between Fernandes and Kane. If you didn't have Fernandes, for example, I think Kane was a stronger option than Son, for example, this week, given how Leicester play. And
that was it. I thought Son might struggle in that game because I don't think he would have got that space to make those runs. But I thought, I saw. I mean, Kane the previous week, he so almost scored. I think it was that header, that really powerful header into the ground that bounced up, and I thought Leicester he's gonna go for them, and you just could see he's on penalties as well. I just thought I would have captained him if I hadn't
Well, we were wrong, Joe,
Yeah.
and Seb would have been right, because this is the thing. Like, the roughs were really rough when you had Kane. So quite a few people, at least 3 or 4 people who replied to the post, took Vardy out for Kane. Most of them for a hit as well. So straight away 13 points down on that move, roughly. And then you've got the fact that these people captain Kane over someone like Fernandes. So you're looking like a 30-point swing on a move like that. So main danger, classics, both took Vardy out for Kane for -4. Taffrey ditched Vardy for Kane, took the armband off Bruno. 50 points in total, went down from 400k to 827k. He's had steady progress, 7 greens, and then something like that happens and you're right back to square one. I can relate, Taffra, believe me. And Zilla, I don't really get this one. He took out Robertson and Grealish, which seems a bit bizarre. Bought in Son, captained him, and Kufau, who had Chelsea away. Still got 57 points. He didn't do too badly, but could have.
That's weird. I mean, sometimes it's bad luck and things, but that's just wrong. That move is just wrong.
Grealish to Son probably was popular, I guess, and then maybe he just needed to fund it with the Robertson move.
Though. West Brom, it's a weird one.
I'm reaching. I'm not.
I guess he needed the funds from Robertson to do the Grealish to Son. Anyway, not the best move. Stats don't lie. So he took a -8. I mean, whenever you see these and they say rough -8, you're like, oh, this is going to be bad. It's not great, and it makes me worried about my minus. I'm probably going to take. He took Vardy, Foden, and Bellerin out, which, Foden, Bellerin, I can see why you do that. Vardy's a pain. But he brought in Dallas, who scored good. Son and Kane, Captain Kane. 48 -8, so 40 points. Really bad week. So 800k to 1.5 million. Nasty. And last one, the worst score I could find was Shark Sandwich, who just got 40 points outright and went from 15k to 101k. So brutal.
I've got another. Get your hankies out, because this is a real tearjerker. Okay, Marif Hussein. We mentioned him before. He's topping both the Fantasy Football Scout free, all mini league and also the members mini league. He slipped from 3rd in the world to 4th. Imagine being 4th in the world.
That's a 33% drop. That's massive.
But imagine being 4th.
Yeah, I did better than that. I had a green arrow this week.
Yeah, I know.
What did he do? Score below 60?
It's absolutely heartbreaking. And Marif, our thoughts and prayers are with you at this difficult time. 4th in the world. I just want to mention this is a good score though. Just in the live chat, Slaughter PFK 106 here. Bragging once per season is okay. Yes, it blooming well is, especially when you get 106 points and the average is 60. So well done there, and well done all you others who got those huge scores. Let's move on to quite a tricky subject. Okay, get your heads around this one. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff on the screen coming up. For the benefit of those listening to the podcast, we've got the fixtures for Game Week 18, shows lots of blanks, and we have the fixtures for Game Week 19, which shows lots of doubles. We put those up last week as well. Do have a look on Fantasy Football Scout, have a look on the season ticker on the homepage and in the members area to have a look at those. I've also got a bit of news that we've had as well. So the 2020-21 Carabao Cup the final has been moved from the 28th of February, which is Game Week 26, to 25th of April, which is Game Week 33. And that's going to very likely result in a blank Game Week 33, given the Champions League and Europa League semi-finals take place the following midweek. It's quite a lot to get to your head around. What does it mean? It basically means Game Week 18 and 19 are almost pretty much there, but there could be some changes. There could be some changes within the League Cup. The Manchester-Everton game could decide whether Manchester United and Burnley move into Game Week 18, which would give them both a fixture then, which would save a lot of people who are looking at that at the moment thinking, I can't field so many. Further down the line, we're looking at Game Week 26 possibly having a double game week. Therefore, Game Week 33, as we mentioned, we'll be looking at as a blank game week coming up. Game Week 29 could see blanks. Game Week 32 and 37 could be double game weeks too. Upshot of it is, this Game week 18 blanks, game week 19 doubles. That ain't ending. There's going to be plenty more of that happening. So if you've got, so your chip use is going to be really important. You've got to decide what chips you want to use for 18, 19, and bear in mind you might want or need some more chips later on. I think what I'll do is I'll explain what my situation and see if it chimes with anyone else, and then we'll read some questions and I'll see what Seb and ours are up to with it as well. So my situation is that I've used my first wild card. I am not at the moment very well geared up for game week 18. So therefore it looks like, for me, it looks good to free hit. There may be other people in that situation, probably many. Lots of teams are blanking then. So therefore, game week 19, I'm quite well stocked up already for game week 19, but my bench is absolutely woeful. So I can use transfers now to upgrade the likes of Mitchell or Dale Stevens I've got, or Jed Steer at Villa. So I can use that time to get essentially very decent bench options, or I could spend those transfers trying to maximise points, trying to get some more points. So, for example, I'm looking at getting Son in ahead of a couple of good games over Christmas, which we'll talk about in a bit. I'm also thinking Robertson, for example, would be good to get in. And so instead of playing the bench boost, I would use a triple captaincy on Salah, who has 2 home games. Now, Salah is against Manchester United and Burnley at home. We know what Salah's like at home. I'm quite happy to triple captain him then. As a backup, I might slum it with Fernandes, who's away to Liverpool, and Fulham. So these are both good triple captaincy options, I think. So for my personal setup, that's what I'd be looking at. For all of those blanks and doubles that we're mentioning later, that are taking place later in the season, I will have a bench boost and a wild card. I like the idea of using a wild card and a bench boost together, because you can really prepare for that. I don't have that first wildcard to use now. I could use my second wildcard, but I don't particularly want to. If you still have your first wildcard left, I personally think that it would be good to use that to maximise a bench boost in game week 19. I think that's a really good opportunity, because loads of good players and teams, they're really good value. Leeds, Southampton, West Ham as well. These are value players and they have quite good double game weeks as well. So that's what I would personally do. We've got some questions on this. Sean McGinn, with a weak non-playing bench, would it be better to use transfers to get a good 11 out in double game week 19 and triple captaining Salah over hits and using transfers to bench boost and upgrading the likes of Mitchell and Basuma? It's exactly what I've just explained. I've already given me answers for that one. That's what I think. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, Sean, for me anyway. We Go For It says, for those free hitting in game week 18, who are the players to target? Max City asks, what is a strong strategy for dealing with later blank and double game weeks? In his case, he has all the chips in play currently, so lucky Max City. Someone knows says, which single game weekers can we sacrifice to maximise the doubles? KDB, perhaps Grealish, for example. I personally I'm thinking of ditching KDB, not yet though, but over Christmas. FPL Off Sinner, how many single game weekers will you have and who? So I've given my thoughts. It's going to be different for different people's situations. So Seb, what's your situation chip wise, and what's your early thoughts with game week 18, 19 plus with those possible blanks and doubles further down the line?
Oh, so many and so few. So I probably come with more questions than answers, which is not a position I always want to be in. But yeah, to be straight, as I sort
of this podcast, Seb. That's good to know.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you can have.
We're here to help.
I spoke to Andy about it at the weekend, and I think I'm still in a similar situation. I don't have that first wild card, which I think is, dare I say, not the easy route, but the obvious route. If you've got that first wild card still, this is what you've saved it for.
Yeah.
I used mine back in game week 5, and I think I needed to. It set my team up okay. I brought in Son and Kane, as many people did. But now I arrive in a situation where I have a team that has done me okay, nothing too special. And I'm probably split in my players between what I've got for the blank and what I've got for the double. And I'm kind of delaying the decision on which way I swing with it. I don't want to use that second wild card. I think that's probably the only thing you shouldn't do in this situation. And I agree with you that a wild card and a bench boost are a good combination.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm setting both those chips aside. That means I've got the free hit and the triple captain. Now, if I free hit in either of those weeks, obviously I can't use the triple captain. The announcement of potential double game weeks and blanks later in the season maybe has helped me there, because my initial thinking was, okay, look, if I've got that triple captain, I maybe do need to use it on, say, for example, Salah, who possibly is the only option. Now that I can maybe save it, I'm thinking I do possibly the opposite to what is the most popular strategy without a wild card, which is set up a team for game week 18, and I'm happy just getting 8 out. Whatever it is, I'll just get a comfortable team. I don't think anyone's going to do spectacular. If you get triple City, triple Spurs, whatever it is, you've not got much left. Sure, you might get a big score, but then if you've used your free hit, I don't think it's going to be as big in the following week, which is what I'm going for. I think I will set up a team that covers game week 18 adequately and covers the fixtures afterwards adequately without sacrificing the fixtures that come before that. And City and Spurs both have good fixtures. And I will use my free hit in 19. Now, I'm not set on that, but I think it allows me probably more freedom than the other routes do, which is really what I'm looking for. I'm not settled and I want to flex. And the big thing is fantasy football is probably 2 main skills. It's loads of luck as well, but it's 2 main skills, planning and reacting. We're all great at planning. You see everyone doing it all over Twitter. We've got, game weeks from now until game week 32. Well, we all tried that in game week 1. I did, Vardy to Martial in game week 2, and that didn't really pay off. And already people have started making transfers for these blanks and doubles, might just have been hit with a Chilwell injury, or, dare I say, the situation Az is in. You absolutely have to plan. You can't avoid that. But then that second bit, reacting. I want to leave myself just that little bit of room to react. So I now have Chilwell to deal with, and my transfer this week will probably be getting rid of him, which means it's maybe another week where I'm not attending to these weeks coming up.
I think that's really great advice, because basically you're dealing with a game largely of luck based, of some blokes scoring and assisting and getting clean sheets for you, but it's about minimising a risk, and at the same time giving yourself some kind of say in what happens, some kind of power over it. And what you're doing is you're giving yourself that by being flexible. And I think you're completely right. And up until last week, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I've sort of formulated it this week, but I've still got these 2 free transfers. I'm keeping them by, because you never know what's going to happen, like a Chilwell injury, for example. So I've been sort of going for Charlie Taylor's. We'll talk about defenders in a bit. I'm going for Vestergaard, I think, because he's 5th in the defenders and he keeps scoring and they keep getting clean sheets. And I think, but I'm not really he has a double game week, but I was actually thinking of these fixtures that are coming up. And I think your rationale there, Seb, is quite right. Don't forget these festive fixtures that are coming up. And we'll talk about game weeks 15, 16 and 17. Burnley are top there. Tottenham are the second in turn on the season ticker. Teams like Chelsea have had quite low down. So it's actually quite a good time to get off Chilwell. He's not playing anyway. But yeah, no, I think that's a really good attitude, Seb.
And I think what you've said there, I want to have a team that's good before and good after this blank and double. And if we're thinking, people are going to have lots of Chelsea, lots of Liverpool, etc., etc. If you're having to build those into your team now, I'd rather dip in and then get back out again.
Yeah, definitely. Keep it flexible. I like that. Az, what's your thoughts? Because you've used your wild card, so similar situation.
Yeah, my thoughts haven't changed. I've always thought free hit in 18 and then triple captain in 19, the same as you, Joe. I like the fact that a lot of teams that have the double in 19 actually have a decent run up until then. So I know you've brought in Kufal, for example, who thinks a really good pick.
Yes.
Souček as well. Seb, you brought him in. They can score points from now right up until the game in 19. So I like that. That's why I'm really annoyed with Chilwell and James, because I had 2 players with good fixtures and a decent double in Fulham and Leicester in 19. Now they're both injured, so it looks like I'm going to have to take both of those out. So, the plan I had set I didn't bank on having to take those 2 out, because they were pretty much locked in. So it hasn't changed my thinking as to what I'm going to do, but it's still an irritant. So yeah, my transfers are all about bringing in players with that double. So I brought in Adams last week. I'm looking at bringing in someone like Maddison this week because they've got the double with Southampton and Chelsea at home. And then looking at someone like Kufau as well to get in place for that double. So yeah, all of my transfer decisions are leading to that double, and it doesn't really feel like I'm massively having to bring in players who've got rubbish games up into them.
And I think that's a good lesson for people as well to take away from this is that is to think about all those other fixtures as well. So you have got those double game week players in mind, but you're only getting ones that you actually want to keep afterwards and really want and quite happy with before. That's why Kufau came in for me, happy. Taylor and Vestergaard's on my list. And next up it'll be Son and Robertson are my next targets. And I'm not sure.
It's a good time. It's a good time to ditch the likes of like Lamptey and Mahrez because you know they haven't got that double and the fixtures aren't great anyway. So you've got kind of a double reason to do it. The players that I'd be worried about ditching would be your Spurs players because they've got Sheffield United in that game week 19 double. I mean City as well. You say you're ditching De Bruyne, but he's got Palace at home in that 19. So they're the two players who I'd be worried about not having.
Well, I think with KDB for me, in game week 16, KDB to Son, and then I use that money to upgrade my defence a bit and get Robertson in. Meanwhile, in game weeks, just scrolling down for the fixtures, in game weeks 16, when I'll be getting Son in, he has Fulham at home and then Leeds at home. I definitely want Son for that Leeds game. I'm thinking captaincy shout for that game week 17. Then game week 18, I'm free hitting. KDB comes back in when he faces Brighton. Then he's obviously out again. I'm back to my usual lot. And then I've got Son and Kane for game week 19. One of them will go. I will keep, because they're a single game week side. I do want Spurs, but I might get rid of Son for, say, Rashford, who has a double game week, or Kane to Vardy, who has a double game week. Sort of whichever Spurs player I'll fancy ditching at the time, and whichever of, say, Vardy or Rashford, I just use those names. Just players of that sort of price who can score well and have good fixtures. And it'll be one of them. But KDB is just for another day after that. So from game week 20, then I start thinking, do I want KDB back again? Do I plan to get him back in? And just make sure I can do it in 2 moves. But I'm quite happy to do without him in game week 19. And I'm quite happy to do without him in favour of... I keep thinking that Leeds game with Manchester United. And then I imagine Son facing that. And I almost faint. It just seems too good.
Spurs are an interesting one, though. So undeniably, you look at those fixtures and you go, I need those players. And I think I do fall on the side of, we're expecting points there. But at the same time, we talk about Leeds, Fulham, Sheffield United. Well, against Newcastle at home, Brighton at home, West Brom away, Crystal Palace away, 1 assist. All those fixtures, apart from the Crystal Palace one, Son got nothing. You had Ted on last week, who I thought was brilliant, and he spoke about XG and big chances, small chances, and maybe how we can understand that. And I think it's quite apparent there that we know what types of goals Son scores. He's overachieving in his small chances and about hitting par for big chances, which we know because he's overachieved his XG his entire career. I think versus Leeds, I think he scores. If you look at how we conceded to Man United, we're going to concede the same chances. It's, Calvin Phillips. It's relatively easy to pull Rodrigo and Click out of position, meaning Phillips is faced with, because we man mark, either marking a runner or someone receiving a pass, someone coming through. Scott McTominay isn't going to score many goals this season. The reason he did against us is because Calvin Phillips was off marking his man elsewhere and Scott McTominay was allowed to come through. You could see a similar thing happening with, say, Son coming through from Kane. I think that's quite easy. But the rest of those fixtures, Fulham at home sounds a lot like Newcastle or West Brom or Palace to me.
That sounds Kane.
They just set up and don't give him those chances.
Well, the reason I'm looking at the KDB to Son move is because, coincidentally, while Spurs have Fulham and Leeds at home, looking down at Manchester City, they got Everton away, whose defence is improving a lot, and Chelsea away. So if Manchester City had, like they, West Brom, even though it wasn't the fixture we thought it would be, West Brom, Newcastle, are on paper easy sides. Yeah, I would just keep KDB and just go, look, I can't be done with all this upside chasing malarkey. I just want an easy night's sleep. But I look at that and it's just such a glorious fixture turn just for those 2 fixtures, and then game week 18 it's just a free for all. You can do what you like if you're free hitting, and I just I like that planning symmetry side of it.
If I do move to Spurs myself, whether it's Son or Kane, I'm not sure. I'd be tempted to lose Fernandes over KDB. KDB's stats are very good.
There, fella.
KDB's stats are very, very good. I think the reason we haven't seen more returns from him, and you need to be careful not to bias yourself to outcome in either direction, is the thickness of a crossbar and attackers that can't finish. I don't know if both those things can continue, especially when Aguero comes back. But Fernandes has Leicester, Wolves, Villa.
I don't agree. I don't agree at all.
Yeah.
Just simply because of the fact that KDB has no open play goals this season, and Bruno's got.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruno. I know KDB's been unlucky, you could say, to not get some. But I mean, I watched that game against Southampton. The trouble is when they're 1-0 up and they're trying to hold out a game, KDB plays the DM. He just does not get forward in the same way that he does earlier in the game.
Which is where he's played in the past and done well, though.
Well, he's not 12 million well.
Oh, to be honest, that's fair. But then for this period, when we're swapping those players, unless you're going to do something with that extra 2 million, I don't know how important that is.
My worry with KDB isn't that I want him to play as a defensive midfielder and just surge forward and score, but he's not. He's playing as a sort of number 10, and he's sort of hanging around. He's like sort of last to be picked at games, sort of hanging around the penalty area. And Jesus and Sterling are like the tricksy guys trying to score. Whether they do or not is another matter. But they're the guys. Whereas KDB sort of loitering a bit, and I prefer to see the old KDB because he did score more points. So I'm quite happy in terms of Fernandes at the moment. I think even though there are 2 home games of Wolves and Villa, I think home and away has gone a bit out the window. And that Sheffield United was just. That was an anomaly, really. I mean, I know his position was different, but it was still an anomaly because he's played in that position before and still come away with points. And I was absolutely gobsmacked as a Fernandes owner that he did not come away with anything in that Sheffield United game. He's not going for me personally, especially because
KDB is interesting though. I mean,
yeah,
Brighton at home, Palace at home, West Brom away, Sheffield United at home, Burnley away. It's an unbelievable record, and I think all City have shown this season is other than, I mean, the defence is hard enough to predict, but there's no attack. I mean, you think of Man City, the amount of talent they've got. There's no one other than De Bruyne you could go for. I mean,
yeah,
I've got Mahrez.
It's
been beyond awful.
For me, Fernandes and Salah are just locks. They just don't go anywhere. They're just not going to go anywhere. And so
I think Sterling's an interesting one. I think he's making a case for himself at the moment. I don't think you can completely write him off.
Yeah, no, Sterling. Oh no, I mean Salah and Fernandes are locks going anywhere. If I might get. I mean, I've gone for the Sterling over KDB route before this season, and Sterling actually did me all right. I think he got me in a 9 and an 11 points. Sterling's stats are going up, and I think I might. After game week from game week 20 onwards, I might be thinking more Sterling than KDB possibly. But let's see how we are then. I don't know.
I think you're being harsh on KDB. I mean, I admit those 3, Fernandes, KDB, and Salah, are all up there for me. I just would fight against losing KDB. You mentioned shots. In the last 4 game weeks, shots inside the box, KDB 9, Bruno is on 4. And the goal, obviously penalty against Leeds, but the goal that Bruno Fernandes scored against us, I don't know the XG on that, but I would argue relatively
it's
low.
All about
he was obscured.
To predict results. So KDB is at home to West Brom. Hooray! Lick my lips at all the points I'm going to get. Oh no, I'm not getting any. And then Fernandes is home to someone like Leeds. Oh, it just gets the points all the time. I had him in since he's joined Manchester United. Every time I've had him. The Sheffield United game was such an anomaly for me because I never think, oh no, he's never going to do it. I just think, oh, it gets the 80th minute, no Fernandes points, don't matter, just going to get a penalty or two or three. With KDB, I'm not getting that feeling. And And that sounds like something I do rally against in my fantasy management, is like going with your gut kind of thing, because it doesn't mean anything. But with Fernandes, if he's in my team, I think I'm going to get points. If KDB's in my team, I start thinking, do you know what, an assist will do.
I think. I mean, when you say going with the gut and your feeling, there'll be reasons for that. There'll be things you will have
Yes,
seen.
it's not really my gut.
I think it's the comfort blanket though of he's returned you points, whereas KDB hasn't. KDB has been very close to getting very similar scores, and I think then we have a very different conversation.
Which why I'm keeping him against Newcastle. Definitely, he's not going anywhere.
Fernandes returned 11 points against West Ham, City, and Sheffield United. You mentioned one of those games yourself. I think it's closer than we're giving it credit for. I'm not necessarily saying KDB is the better pick. We'll come on to who I'm going to captain later.
That is what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you obscured the names,
Don't you sit on the fence
when
now,
you're
Seb.
when you're
on the fence now.
When you're looking at the stats on Fantasy Football Scout in the members area, if you obscured those names, I think there's one very obvious player, and I don't think he plays for Man United or Liverpool.
There you go.
Danny Welbeck.
He is good.
He's very good. He's very, very good.
We're not biased at all.
Well, okay, so hopefully we've confused everyone with doubles and blanks. Basically, use some chips for 18-19, and it's entirely up to which position you're in and the players that you've got. We've got the fixtures on the screen there. West Ham, Leeds, Chelsea, Liverpool, and to a lesser extent West Brom, Southampton, Manchester United, Leicester, Fulham and Burnley are playing twice. Single game weeks, all the teams I just mentioned there, they're not playing. So look at that and see how your team's sorted for it. And bear in mind, you're going to need one, maybe two chips if you can save them back later in the season. And you can't use the chips for every single double game week and blanks go along, because we don't have enough chips to do that. But it's just going to be, keep that in mind. Let's move on to the next subject, defenders. We've hinted about some of the defenders that we want, and definitely and I'm in that position as well. My defence is looking pretty ropey. And Robertson, I'll put a picture of him up there, because he's the one I particularly want, so I'm biased, so I put the pictures up. So I just thought he looks like the best defender to get in at the moment, already in Seb's team. So yeah, take us away, defenders.
Yeah, so like you came to me for this one. Thanks, Joe. James could need surgery, but it looks like he might escape it. But he's a big doubt in terms of how many minutes he can reasonably play over Christmas with a niggling injury like that. Chilwell, we don't know the extent of it. It could be like a knock. It could be like a ligament. Like we just don't really know. The signs are optimistic, but again, he's a doubt. So you've got to think with these two players, are they going to play 3 or 4 matches sort of back to back? Probably not. And then you've got Liverpool, so they're clicking again. They've got their defence sorted. Matip and Fabinho look really good. Robertson and Trent are back, delivering assists. They've got West Brom at home next. It's really, really exciting again. So the main danger are, like me, has got Chilwell and James. What do I do? Yeah, I wish I knew, mate. Anthony Wilson is a double up of Trent and Robbo back on. And Vaishnav says best Lamptey replacements, so 5 million or under. So I'll just start quickly, because I am thinking of the Liverpool double up. It would mean a -8. It would mean taking Mahrez out, and it would basically mean taking Mahrez out and taking out Chilwell and James, who I think are massive doubts anyway, and bringing in Robertson, Trent, and then I've got up to 7 million or 7.1 million. So I could get Maddison, and I'm getting some stick on the chat for suggesting him, but the options up to 7.1 aren't that amazing. It's kind of Maddison or someone like Bowen, or there's not that massive amounts. Obviously, I want to play that's got a double. Ward-Prowse, it's not amazing, but the idea would be that the double up of those Liverpool defenders is really strong at the moment. If I was going to pick one, if I was giving anyone advice, I would say pick Robertson. He's having like the best season we've seen. He's got corners now. Like every time Liverpool score, I look at the flash scores and I think Robertson's got an assist here. Like he's literally just in that vein of form, and he's carried it on for the whole season, which is just so attacking. For me though, I think I would go for Trent, because it's nice to be a bit different. Alexander-Arnold's stats were decent against Palace as well. The trouble with Robertson, he doesn't really shoot very much. He creates a lot of chances and assists, but he hasn't really got that goal threat. Whereas because Trent's got the free kicks as well, like direct free kicks, it means I think he's got a haul in him coming up fairly soon. So I want to kind of tap into that. But I think realistically, Robertson is probably the safer and better pick, unless you kind of want to risk it a bit. What do you both think? Let's go to you first, Joe.
Okay. I just want to
You've
mention...
got Chilwell. Are you going to get rid of him?
I will. I just wanted to mention someone in our live chat. I've just got to say it before I forget. No, so it's Philip Appleby here. His 11-year-old daughter somehow has 9 players for blank game week 18 already, and she still has a wild card as well. So well done, Philip Appleby's
What's her rank?
Daughter. I don't know, but she's doing really well in terms of planning.
I'm losing to Phil Appleby's 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah, well, she's super. She's like, it's like
get her on the Scoutcast.
be like Queen's Gambit of fantasy football. There's a Netflix mini-series about Phil Appleby's daughter there coming. So okay, I've got some stats. So let's have a look at these then. So this is why I've targeted some defenders so far and why I will continue targeting some others. So my plan at the moment is to remove Chilwell to Vestergaard, who is currently 5th, I believe, in the scoring in FPL points for defenders. And then next week I will use the money from KDB and Son to upgrade Lamptey to Robertson. What an upgrade that is. So I'll have the money to do that, and I'll have around about $1 million left to play with for whatever afterwards. The reason I'm not just doing Lamptey to Vestergaard now is because I think I'm going to need Lamptey if he plays, and I hope he doesn't get minus, and I hope he plays, because having Chilwell's not going to play. It looks like he's out for 3 games. So he's a definite no. I've got Charlie Taylor against Leeds, so I think he is a good a guy for my bench. And I've got Kufal I'm happy to play. So I think I'm going to need Lamptey, and you never know. But what I've got up on the screen and stats-wise, I've got last 4 game weeks, chances created, I've sorted by, and I've also got goal attempts. So on the chances created front, this is why I like Robertson. He's created the most chances out of any defender for the last 4 game weeks, 11. But as pointed out, no goal attempts. Kufal, this is one of the reasons I got him in, 10 chances he created. I noted as well during the game, before Chelsea really started piling the goals in against West Ham, if West Ham had scored when it was 1-0 and it had become 1-1-all, then he would have been in the bonus, because he was I think he was the highest West Ham player in bonus, and it would have reduced the clean sheet bonus from the Chelsea players that got it. So yeah, he would have been in the bonus. Justin is a player I got rid of because I thought Ricardo was going to come back at some point. May not for a while, but he's doing really well. 8 chances created. If you think he is going to survive game week 19, he's a good option. Tierney at Arsenal. I'm not interested in Arsenal at the moment, personally. Tellez at Manchester United, 6 chances there. Cresswell at 5 with 3 goal attempts. Cancelo is a great one to get in. 5 chances created, 5 goal attempts. That's really good. That's really high on the goal attempts for a defender who's 5.5. It's all the 5s. It's 5.5 and he's scoring 5 on everything, every metric. Alexander-Arnold creeping up there with 5 chances created, 2 goal attempts. Van Aanholt, 4 chances created, 4 goal attempts. The Mavericks out there can always go for him. I've just skipped over Luke Shaw because I never know whether he's going to be injured or not. That's probably some bias of his injuries, but 4.8 Luke Shaw. And moving on to goal attempts, Dunk is there. As a Brighton fan, I would not advise Brighton particularly, but if you want to get a player that's playing game week 18, Lewis Dunk, 4.8, 9 goal attempts. He's a defender, by the way, for the last 4 game weeks. Reece James, this is why it's so galling, him being out for owners. 3 chances created, but 7 goal attempts. Seb, your guy Dallas from Leeds, what amazing, 7 goal attempts, only 4.7. And then Vestergaard is on 7 as well. And I was considering getting Dallas in, but I think for me Vestergaard is the he's the more secure in terms of clean sheets, as in I might get some.
Sure.
But
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about Leeds in a moment,
Yeah.
but I think that's the gamble you take there.
Yeah, and
Is he going to keep getting those
Yeah.
those slightly lucky lucky goals? But as you see from the stats, he's putting it in there
Yeah.
to outweigh the clean sheets he's not going to get.
So hopefully this answers some of those questions that Az was posing there from the community in terms of cheaper defenders to get in and which other defenders and perhaps Chilwell replacements. So for me, Robertson, top of the pile if you can afford it. If not, money's tight. Kufal, Justin, not bad options here. And if you want goals, well, someone like Vestergaard, Cancelo, Dunk, these all have potential for goals. Maybe not clean sheets, but goals. So that's my answer.
I would say the only one I've not heard you mention there, and you've covered that beautifully, is maybe John Stones.
Yeah,
he's cheap. He's cheap.
Yeah.
He's not playing tonight.
Yes, do you know what? When I saw that team sheet, I did think John Stones, but then I look at all these players here. I look at all these other defenders, and I wouldn't think it was odd anyone getting John Stones anymore. But for me, I think I prefer more of a clean sheet and something else. And I think a lot of these guys here, Vestergaard, particularly it's just attack and returns for him. But Vestergaard, Cancelo, look at him, 5 chances and 5 goal attempts. That's great. So yeah, but yeah, no, I must admit, John Stones did cross my mind.
Yeah, I really like John Stones. 4.9, I think he is. I mean, I never thought he was capable of not only getting his place back in the City backline, given the amount of money they've spent on defenders, but displacing Laporte, who I'd say is close to Van Dijk in terms of the best central defender.
I thought I'd seen everything in 2020 until I saw John Stones replacing Laporte.
It is crazy, and like you think about City and how they've been successful, and a large part of that has been down to Laporte because he has been so good for them. For a number of seasons. So yeah, I mean, for Stones to come in and almost displace him, I think he's a cert to start Newcastle for sure. He's not making mistakes like we've seen from him in the past. Like Sanchez, I think it's his place to lose at the moment until he does something stupid. I can't see him losing his spot.
I think it's worth noting as well that while maybe he's not got the goal threat of Diaz or the assist threat of maybe one of the fullbacks, he will rack up the bonus for just touches, passes completed, pure involvement, which Diaz, of course, will threaten on, but there's quite a difference there in price.
4.9 for a starting City centre-back is a bargain, whatever way you look at it.
And I think out of any of the City defenders, you're probably going to see a rest at some point, but 4 out of 5 fixtures, 3 out of 4 is probably pretty good. And who's going to start more than him, Diaz aside?
Yeah, I completely agree.
I just want to say, Brian in the chat says, what are those on Joe's heads? They're comedy Christmas antlers that got from a Royal British Legion charity thing collection at a reindeer parade in Wales when we could do that last year.
They've become so normal to me during this podcast that like I've forgotten you're even wearing it. So when someone mentions it, I'm like, what has he got on his head? Oh yeah, he's got those massive antlers.
Weird growths.
I see it now. Yeah.
For anyone listening, Joe's not wearing antlers. I don't know what that's.
It's got weird hair. Before we move on to Leeds, does anyone else want to say anything else about defenders?
Or just one question, because we've had the question from Vishnav, who says best Lamptey replacements for 5.0 or under. I think Stones would be my pick at 4.9. Other than that, I like Dallas. He's got the double top of the threat metric in terms of like goal threat. He's looking really good. Depends if you regard clean sheets as important, because if you don't, then he's perfect. He's so attacking anyway. He can create. I mean, they concede all those goals to United, and he still comes away with 5 points. It's an absolute result for owners. And I think Kufal as well. They'd be my 3 picks. I think
those chances
any
amazing.
Of those 3
It's
picks
crosses, isn't it? 10. I mean, 10 just behind Robertson, second to Robertson in terms of chance creation for defenders. That's a sit up and notice stat, especially when you're 4.6. Let's have a look at Leeds. Let's have a look at Leeds then. So Seb, You lead
Sure,
this.
that's over to me as the
It's
Leeds
over
fan.
to you as our Leeds correspondent.
How did the weekend go? I missed that one. Did we win?
Well, it was just amazing.
Oh yeah, you smashed them, mate. You smashed them.
Good,
It's fine.
good. Pleased to hear that. So yeah, Joe's written here for me kindly that Leeds are conceding goals for fun. I would argue it's not for fun, but there's some fun in there in the way we play, and it's true we are conceding a lot of goals, but we're creating a lot of chances to score as well, and a lot of that comes from Dallas. Unfortunately, they're not coming from Eiling at the moment, but that's down to positional changes, so maybe we can look at him again in the future. And who's on the end of all those chances? It's Patrick Bamford, and as I think everyone has said all season, from last season into this season, he's going to get a lot of chances. He's going to miss a lot of chances. But crucially, for whatever reason it is, he is converting more this season. His XG performance against that, his conversion rate is better. I think he's on 11 goals off the top of my head or something like that. He got 16 in the Championship last year. He's going to outscore his Championship record in the Premier League. So while watching him, and every game is one at a time at the moment, can be frustrating. If you just picked him and came back in 3, 4, 5 weeks, I'd expect you to see goals there. Then who's creating them? We've mentioned Dallas, hopefully Eiling when he goes back to right back, but worth mentioning that might not be anytime soon. We've got Cooper still playing, but we've lost two centre-back signings that we made over the summer in Robin Koch and Diego Llorente. Koch is out for another couple of months. Llorente a little bit shorter than that, but we're not certain, which means Eiling is going to play centre-back, and potentially our defence will continue to be weaker, even if we do manage to sort out the thing that Man United exposed us with, which is getting a couple of runners coming at our defence, especially if Click and Rodrigo disappear off the pitch. Calvin Phillips can't pick up everyone, especially when we're man-marking. You can pull him out, and as we mentioned earlier, you can see someone like Scott McTominay become prime Zidane. But even if we solve that, you saw for some of the goals at the weekend, Luke Eiling, love him, but he's just not a centre-back in the Premier League. He doesn't quite know where to position himself. I think it was one of the Scott McTominay goals that he just got completely done by a great first touch, but something an experienced centre-back might not do. You look at Van Dijk, who backs off. Eiling committed. He went straight in to try and get where he thought it was going. McTominay just popped it past him and scored. One thing to mention with our defence, though, is you see the type of goals we concede. I wouldn't say we will keep clean sheets because our defence is good, but we did have the best defensive record in the Championship last year. And if you keep 70% possession, which we had 60-something against Man United, you are going to keep the ball off the opposition and potentially reduce their chances. We kept a clean sheet against Arsenal. Okay, fair enough. That's really easy. But also Everton. If you look at our fixtures to come, it would be interesting to highlight Tottenham, probably going to concede. Burnley and West Brom, I think Burnley possibly score a set piece against us. That's our big weakness. But maybe if we can stop that, maybe West Brom, Brighton after that, Southampton, there's maybe a few teams there where we could nick a clean sheet. If you can combine that with, say, a Dallas attacking return, you're on for something a bit special.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at the stats we've got up on the screen here. And I mean, that says, I'm a Bamford owner, and that says to me, keep Bamford. 7 shots on target, 6.4 he costs. So there. But I think Rafinha's chance creation really sticks out. 12 chances created, 5.4 midfielder. He's someone, if for those that are wildcarding or looking for a bench boost, Leeds have a fairly decent double game week, and Rafinha 5 points is value, totally value. But on your bench, wherever, I mean, if you're bench boosting, great. So yeah, what do you think of Rafinha? Because I mean, is he the one to go for in terms of the cheap midfield Leeds guy, or is Harrison
it's Rafinha,
still?
Click and Harrison, isn't it? They're the three that people are
Click's got created 9 chances, Harrison 8 chances there. So all in the same general ballpark of being a bit handy. So who would be the best one to go for, Seb, do you think? Oh, Seb, you're muted, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Phew, I really want to know the answer to this.
The things I said were beautiful, but I've forgotten. No. So I think Rafinha is definitely the one for me. Click has penalties, which is something in his locker, and he creates chances. But he does tend to, if you see the big chances created, he does tend to maybe create the smaller chances. And as we've kind of discussed with Son, Bamford is probably the other side of that, right? He needs something massive to put it away. Rafinha is also on an upward trajectory. So Harrison has maybe stuttered a bit recently, scored a great goal against Newcastle, but that's a pretty low percentage thing. Rafinha's come into the side. We know it takes time for Bielsa to work people in, and I think he's only getting better. Of course, that's an intangible thing, but if you look at his stats, he's already coming out on top, and I think he's got more to add. He's been unlucky. He hit the post in the last match. He's gone close a few times before. Rodrigo is also creating a few chances and getting a few shots away, but he's more in the Bamford camp of maybe a lower conversion. And he's also a forward, which is worth keeping in mind. Not that, in FPL, we maybe don't need to worry about where he's playing in real life because he is getting the chances. But he takes up a spot, which we've got lots of people at that price that are getting the points, one of which, of course, is Bamford. So for me, I think if you want one, Rafinha, and I think he's a valid fifth, fourth, Grealish, Soucek territory pick.
Yeah, no. I look at those stats there. Poor old Ayling there, down there. But also, I've noticed, say Dallas, for example. So I've done total goal attempts for here, just shots on target, whether they're worth actually, possibly getting a goal from. And Dallas with 4.7 defenders, so okay. And then, but noticing Cooper as well, 4.4. So now remind me, did Cooper go off injured? Did he get? Is Cooper fine? Because a 4.4 defender at least, but is getting those shots on target. Has got goal potential. Could be an intriguing bench option.
Yeah, so Cooper went off injured, but I don't know how much that'll stick. We made a few early tactical changes in that match as well. Phillips went off.
Right.
Strout came on there. Just as well, I don't consider Strout or Leif Davis. They are bench options at best. I wouldn't look at them for our team. Cooper, off the top of my head, I think he had something like 2 goals last season, but his headed chances per match were very low. Okay. Something like 0.5. If you look at Robin Koch, I think he had 1.1 over in Germany. Obviously, he's injured at the moment. Yeah. But we aren't the best from offensive or defensive set pieces. We obviously did score one recently, but that'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
I think unless you're really strapped for cash, you should be looking at our fullbacks. And at the moment, that's only Dallas. Alioski is okay, but he's a left winger playing at left back. Once we get our players back, he's the one that probably drops out.
So if you're looking for 3 leads, let's pretend. I'm personally going to stick with Bamford, I think, and that'll be it. But would I be right in saying Bamford, Rafinha, and Dallas would be the 3 to go for if you're looking at 3?
Yeah, I think you can make the case for Click for penalties, but you are really relying on that. Maybe if you need a goalkeeper, there's Meslier there for you. He's going to make saves. We know we might not keep the clean sheets, but if he can rack up the saves, he's probably going to match, give or take, some other players at that price.
Even he'd score the way Leeds are playing.
It might, maybe he's got an assist in him. But I think it's hard to look past Dallas, Rafinha, and Bamford if you're looking for the triple up.
Yeah. But how are you set up with Leeds? Dabbling?
Yeah, I've got Bamford. He's done all right. I've had him for 3 weeks. He's got an assist, a goal, and a blank, which is fine. He's 6 million. It's kind of what you expect. He gets chances. I like watching Leeds. That's the main thing. It's watching Leeds is great, and the United game is honestly one of the best matches I've ever watched. In terms of just sheer insanity of neither manager really knowing what to do to stifle the others. They're just going, let's just go for it, lads. Just all out attack. And we saw it earlier in the season with Leeds and City. That Leeds City game, I think it was 1-1, was it? But that game could easily have been like 6-6. Like the Leeds against these top sides are just so great to watch because they just go for it. So having Bamford in against anyone, I think he's going to get chances. I love how Bielsa's just put his arm around him, and I think that's what a striker like him needs. He's like, he's bounced around different clubs. His conversion rate hasn't been amazing. A lot of people doubted his quality, and Bielsa just said, "You're our main striker. You're going to play every match. You're going to get chances, score them." And I think he will better his tally of last season in the Championship in the Premier League. So I think it's great. I really want to do the Ayling to Dallas switch, and I'd do it for a hit. The only reason I haven't done it for here already is because I just haven't been playing Eiling. But if I'm looking to play Eiling, I would just make the move Eiling to Dallas. I think that if you're looking at 4 points, Dallas is going to outscore Eiling by 4 points over the next 4 or 5 weeks easily.
Yeah, I would say that earlier in the season it's probably not the move, especially with them both playing fullback. In fact, with Eiling at right back and Dallas at left back, I fancy Eiling, but probably for the next month, maybe he's probably at centre back. I think Dallas is clear. If you're ever going to make that move, now is the time.
Yeah. I mention this really crap example every year, and it's the year that I went for Baines over Coleman years ago, and it became evident very quickly that Coleman was by far the better option. And if I'd just spent 4 points doing Baines to Coleman, I'd have made about 30-40 points over the next 4 or 5 weeks. And I feel that way. I feel exactly that way about Eiling and Dallas. I think Dallas is going to outscore Eiling. As long as Eiling's playing at centre back, Dallas is going to outscore him comfortably. So I think if you're looking to play Eiling over the next few weeks, just make the move. Would be my advice.
Okay. And worth noting, Eiling is 5'11". He doesn't have the best record from set pieces either. So the threat there
against United, awful header he had against United, wasn't it? Just blazed it straight over the bar.
Let's move on and have a look at the fixtures that are coming up. So this is the next 3.
Oh my God, Mahrez has scored.
Oh really? Tempting you, isn't he? Teasing you.
Oh, why has he gone and done that?
If you look at the team tonight, though, I think you could make a very good case for almost none of those players starting.
Well, Diaz and Cancelo are there.
Interesting on Cancelo because Mendy, if he's fit, isn't on the bench either. So if we think Cancelo plays 4 in 5, maybe his rest is about to come up because Zinchenko's left back, so you could go Walker and Mendy at the weekend.
Okay. As we can see on the fixtures up on the screen, Man City do have Newcastle up next, but then they have Everton and Chelsea away. So a mixed bag for Man City. This is the section where we usually look at the next 4 game weeks. I've stuck to just 3 coming up here because next week when we're back on Scoutcast, we can start looking at the next 4, which will include game weeks 18 and 19. And, this is in a way to not forget about the fixtures that we've got right in front of us coming up. One of the reasons we're looking at this section is Fantasy Football Scouts partner with Football Index. There may also be players to look at buying through that. That's where you can buy and sell shares in players and use fantasy football knowledge with the aim to make a profit. So looking at some of these players here, I've also put up the whipping boys so far. Last 4 game weeks, big chances conceded and also goals conceded to see if they're marrying up really, because sometimes you might get a situation with a really amazing goalkeeper, like with Sheffield United last season with Henderson, but here we can see that Leeds are the ones. 19 big chances conceded. They conceded 13 goals. Sheffield United still awful. 14 big chances conceded 9 goals. Manchester United, that's probably because they played Leeds, but then you could argue that's because Leeds played Manchester United. But Manchester United are up there, 12 big chances conceded. That's interesting for Salah owners during the double game week when they play Manchester United, by the way. West Ham have conceded 8 goals, their defence. So yes, I've got Kufal in, but I'm starting to think, well, am I going to get these clean sheets as well? Fulham trucking along, but obviously we're seeing signs that Fulham being much better of late. 11 big chances conceded. As we can see, 4 goals conceded. So they're doing really well there and keeping those big chances out. West Brom, so Big Sam's come in. West Brom, 9 big chances conceded. So they conceded more than their big chances. So that implies they've been slightly unlucky. And is that something Big Sam's going to address? Well, let's find out in the next few weeks. And then moving down there, the best defence is Villa. So Villa have turned it around. There they go. Big chances conceded, just a 1. And the goals conceded over the last 4 game weeks there. And Manchester City, Chelsea, Tottenham, Leicester, the usual. Everton, Arsenal even. In terms of conceding big chances, they're really low down on the list there. So looking at those fixtures, Burnley, Tottenham, Liverpool, Leeds are looking the best for fixtures. So yeah, just either of you have got any thoughts about the fixtures coming up, these festive fixtures? Clear our minds of the blanks and the doubles.
I think it's worth noting that on the big chances conceded and goals conceded that you note there, Leeds are absolutely top, but so are two of the teams we've played recently, which are Man United and West Ham. So I mean, we know this already, but it just further confirms that
it does.
Leeds are going to score and concede goals, and we also see them near the top of the ticker.
It's like target Leeds games. Whoever's involved on the pitch, just target them. Yeah, sounds good. As any
I mean, Liverpool to me stand out because just as they're starting to get themselves sorted, they come into a really good run with West Brom at home next, then Newcastle, then Southampton. Okay, fairly tricky, but suits them to win that. Then the blank and then the double. So I do think Liverpool is a good time to get on Liverpool. And Sam on the Scoutcast last week picking Firmino.
Oh
He
yeah,
delivers as a differential. Amazing. But it's why I do think that the double up with the Liverpool defence and Salah, or even the double up with Salah and Mane, which I don't see any teams with, could be really good over this run.
So you mentioned differential there, so we'll come to that in a sec. Just got to say with Football Index, you can take advantage of their 7-day £500 money back guarantee. There's a link in the description below to sign up, as well as a link. Check out the full terms and conditions. This is for 18 plus only. And please gamble responsibly. You can check out begambleaware.org. There's a link for this in the description as well. So yeah, we mentioned you mentioned Firmino. That was Sam's pick last week in differential. Wow, and he looks good to go for the next few game weeks as well. So Seb has the unlucky position of trying to follow Sam's differential pick there. So 5% or lower owned next 4 game weeks. That does include blank game week 18. Who is your differential pick?
So as you've teed me up for lovely there, I think maybe I'm unlucky or maybe I'm not, but I think this week is probably the one week where you have to pick someone who plays in 18. Picking next week, maybe you can sacrifice that for someone who plays in the double, but realistically, if it's 4 weeks, I need 4 fixtures there. So I'm limited in the players I can pick from. Realistically, I'm maybe looking at Wolves, Everton, City, Villa, Spurs. Probably going to leave Arsenal and Crystal Palace alone. Some people who tempted me is Zaha, but I believe he's just over 5%. The Spurs players, we know who you want, and they're well over 5%. So I'm looking at Man City for that run, and we've covered a lot of their defenders already.
If you say Mahrez, you're out.
So I'm not going to say Mahrez.
Good.
Someone that tempts me, but I'm not going to say just because it feels like being too clever, and I don't think that's what a differential is about. I think some people maybe misunderstand it as trying to be clever, but really it doesn't matter how you get your points. They're worth the same. Different points aren't more, so you want more points, not different. So Aguero's tempting for those reasons, but I don't think he's safe. Jesus starts tonight. Maybe he gets a start at the weekend, but maybe he doesn't start for ages because Pep doesn't care about FPL. It's for real. So then the midfield, probably only De Bruyne, not Mahrez, not Sterling. So I'm looking at the defence. Now, I was going to say João Cancelo, but he starts tonight, and I need points in the next 4 fixtures. And John Stones doesn't start tonight. Ooh. John Stones, however, could maybe get another rest. So I'm kind of really, really, really torn. So who I'm going with is based purely on the stats. And Joe, you covered those beautifully earlier. Cancelo has 11 chances created, 5 shots, a couple in the box. And the thing that tips it for me is even though he's playing tonight, he can play and has played right back and left back pretty much interchangeably throughout the season. So if Pep is going to rest someone in his defence, Cancelo is probably near the bottom of the list along with Diaz, who, by the way, does start tonight alongside Laporte. So there's every chance you see Stones and Laporte at the weekend. I think realistically, the defence you see at the weekend is Cancelo in either of the fullback positions, probably left with Walker right, Diaz and Stones. So for me, it is João Cancelo.
Yeah, very good choice. Yeah, I can't argue with that really, because we as when we were looking at those stats earlier, let's get those back up again so we can see Cancelo there, and that's the thing I really liked about his stats there, and which marries up with what you see on the pitch, is that he's got chance creation and goal attempts really high for a 5.5 defender. Plus he plays for Man City, so we're talking clean sheet potential. the potential for a huge haul somewhere in there is massive, and he does play game week 18. So I'm keen on that. As you Cancelo'd up or
Yeah, and Cancelo's someone I'm looking at getting in. I think he's a bit more exciting than Diaz. Diaz, you're probably gonna get your steady returns, but I don't think he hasn't scored a goal yet. He's got De Bruyne putting in crosses, so you never know what he might get. We've sort of Otamendi. Otamendi could get on the end of it and score a goal. So I'm not completely writing him off. But yeah, if I was going to pick a City defender, it would be Cancelo. The only thing is, I'm surprised that you've written off Sterling because he's 4.3% owned. 2 goals, 2 assists in his last 4 matches. I like him, but yeah.
The only thing for me, I guess, is I want to kind of maybe think that it's not just a player I'm picking out of nowhere. It's a player that's got to fit into someone's team. If you have that expensive Man City player, it's probably Kevin De Bruyne. I think people with Sterling might even be looking to move to De Bruyne. So I would, while I think you're not wrong, I think he's got some great points potential. If I'm recommending a player that someone can pick up and put in their team, I'm probably not going to recommend them.
I'm an example of that. I mean, I like Sterling and I like having him in my team, and I'm quite happy to have him over KDB. But now is not the Sterling time. But in game week 20 onwards, I'm happy. I'm happy to go back.
Don't you think it's crazy though that you've got Manchester City, like the second best team in England, and you've got De Bruyne 25% ownership. The next highest owned player, do you know who it is? Without looking, I see you said.
Is it Aguero?
It is not. It is Kyle Walker at 11.5%, and then it's Mahrez at 7%, and then pretty much every other player is around or below 5% owned.
I would have said Cancelo or Diaz. That surprises me, especially Mahrez.
Yes, I know. And you think of Diaz and Cancelo, you look at FPL Twitter and Fantasy Scout and all of that, you see so many teams with them in. Diaz is 4.8% owned and Cancelo's 4.5%. So, it just shows City are just...
Well, I noticed it when
Pep is a nightmare for FPL.
KDB got me a return a couple of game weeks ago, and my rank at that moment shot up because he just was not well owned, and if you had him and captained him, it was a huge swing. And that's in general with Man City, and I'm not getting hurt by. I thought usually back in the day, as pointed out, it's quite surprising how lowly they're owned. But if Man City got a clean sheet, that's it. End of days. Manchester United.
Their first choice back four is like Seb said. It's Walker, 11% owned. Diaz, 4.8% owned. Stones at the moment, 2.2% owned. And then Cancelo, 4.5% owned. So if City keep a clean sheet and you don't have any City defenders, you're not actually getting burnt at all. And they're keeping a lot of clean sheets.
But you can rise up the rankings, especially like with Cancelo. He's got this huge goal threat and chance creation as well for play. Let's move on quickly because we've been going for 1 hour 23 minutes chatting away largely about those blanks and doubles and leads. So let's have a look at what we're doing for game week 15. We are back on the Scoutcast next week, game week 16. To have a look at that, but let's have a look at game week 15. This is for me so far. I've got McCarthy, Kufau, Chilwell, who's probably not going to play, Lamptey, who may or may not play, Soucek, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Salah captain at home to West Brom, Calvert-Lewin, Kane and Bamford. And on my bench I've got a rubbish bench. I've got Steer, then Charlie Taylor against Leeds, Stevens and Mitchell. I'm okay having Taylor as my first sub. He'll play and you never know. Burnley, Pope could be amazing and keep out that attacking Leeds side. So what I'm looking at doing is Chilwell out for Vestergaard, who even though I have McCarthy, I'm quite happy to have. It's Southampton and it's double Southampton defence, but it's a different type of player I'm getting there. I'm getting basically Robert Huth. I'm getting just a really massive bloke who Ward-Prowse is aiming the ball at all times at set pieces to his head. And it's one of these things, I'm actually getting him more for goal potential, but he does have their clean sheets to go along with it as well. I'm going to give Lamptey a go, final go, because he'll at least play, and I just marginally favour him over Charlie Taylor against Leeds. But apart from that, that's it. I've got 2 free transfers. So I'm only going to use one, hopefully. And then the following week, KDB and Chilwell and Lamptey out for Robertson and Son. And then I don't know what else. But hopefully that plan won't change next week. I'll soon find out. Let's move on to Az. Here is your side. Do you want to take us through the players and anyone new in or already? As you're muted at the moment.
Sorry, I need to press the button. I remember. So Martinez in goal, fine. And then my defence currently is Chilwell, James and Lamptey. Are any of them going to start? Who knows? I'd say Chilwell's the biggest out. James might have been rested as a precaution. I think Lamptey, the comments from Potter indicate that he is okay, and he might even feature in our game tomorrow. So we'll see what happens with that. But I need to make at least one defensive move. So it's definitely going to be Trent coming in for one of them. I just need to decide who. I can afford James or Chilwell to Trent. So one of them come in. Salah captain, obviously. I think he's a triple captain option, to be honest. I know they've got a double coming up, but they haven't even got Livermore. I mean, Livermore's their captain. West Brom are just going to get battered in that game. You know, I can't see anything other than a massive Liverpool win. So yeah, it could be, and Salah's had the rest now, so you haven't even got to worry about him not starting.
When he was benched. My immediately thought there was, I don't care whether he comes on or not, because I just thought, at least he's got that bench now out of the way.
Yeah, I know.
So let's have a look at your.
It's a perfect result.
Yeah,
and then Salah, Fernandes, Son, Mahrez. Oh God,
boy.
Calvert-Lewin, Bamford, Adams. My moves are probably, if I take the -8, I'm going to bring in 2 Liverpool defenders and bring in both Robertson and Trent, and it would mean moving Mahrez down to someone who is 7.1 or less. And currently my thinking is Maddison or Ben Rama, because of a guy in my cash league called Greg. Sorry, not cash league, no cash anymore. It was a cash league. Greg in the ex-cash league, who's a West Ham fan, and he says Ben Rama has been their best player for the last few weeks. Benched against Chelsea, but that's because they stuck Noble in to maybe control the midfield a bit more.
What about Rafinha? What about Rafinha? Can we chat about...
Could be...
Yeah.
Could be an option. That would mean triple Leeds.
I'd be tempted.
With Eiling and Bamford.
Because you got Adams there. If I didn't have Adam, if I was in the market for that, I would be looking at perhaps a Ward-Prowse as well. There's something about Southampton.
I can't go Ward-Prowse. That is... He's...
Too boring.
I just can't. No, way too boring.
Rafinha
could be a shout.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Rama, though, like championship-wise, he was absolutely quality. He was, one of the players of the season.
He was arguably the best player in the championship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And he has looked good for West Ham in the games I've seen him play. The benching against Chelsea is a bit of a worry, but at the same time, I can see why he would look to strengthen the midfield a bit more. I think he'll be back against Brighton.
Is Jared Bowen out of your reach if you're thinking that West Ham?
Well, no, he wouldn't be if I went for this. Yeah, Bowen's an option. Yeah, I don't know. Ben Rama's a bit more exciting than
Bowen. Was handy in the Championship as well, and handy in the Premier League.
Yeah, true.
I
don't really know. I mean, this is my season though. I'm debating Maddison versus Ben Rama versus Bowen. So you can tell how well it's going for me. Really.
Okay, Seb, let's look at your team. You got Sanchez, Chilwell, Robertson, Lamptey, Fernandes, Salah captain, Grealish, De Bruyne vice captain, Watkins, Calvert-Lewin and Bamford, and it's a really good bench. So apart from Steer, you got Soucek, Ayling and Kilman. That's a strong bench.
Steer's the one that's killing me because I couldn't do Martinez last weekend because of the triple Villa.
The rest of your team, I mean, is that you sort of shook your head a bit with the Salah and De Bruyne captain?
Yeah,
so actually thinking of.
Firstly, I think transfer is relatively straightforward. Either Stones or Cancelo come in for my injured Chelsea defender in Chilwell. Maybe just depends on price. I'm trying to plan ahead a bit for either a Kane or Son move. That's why I mentioned earlier I might lose Fernandes. If I'm going to lose one of Salah if I have to lose one of Salah, De Bruyne, or Fernandes, I think it's Fernandes. I think based on, say, last 3 or 4 stats and next 3 or 4 fixtures, Fernandes comes bottom. I don't want to lose any of them, but if I had to have a Spurs player, I think that's how I do it. Other options being, bring in Son for Grealish, sacrifice completely a striker. Maybe that's possible with Soucek. It's one of the reasons I wanted to do that, to give myself the option. But if I want Kane, I think maybe Kane is better in those fixtures. I think that's how I have to do it.
Okay, that's a really strong side, actually, I've got to say.
Shame it's 600k or 700k, I think now. And then the captain, I think it's on Salah now. I had KDB earlier in the week, and as I explained earlier, so I won't go into it again. I'm sure not many people agree with me, and that's fair enough. All I'm trying to fight for is I think KDB should be kept in your sides. In terms of captaining, when I look at the stats, the last few 3.53 XGI for De Bruyne, Salah 2.48, and Bruno Fernandes 1.96. Going forwards, Salah certainly is projected to come top of that lot. So I think the safe move is go with Salah. I'm not interested in trying to be too clever with my captain. I think you can be different with your picks. The captain is a big thing. You go for the safety. But I am tempted by De Bruyne. I wouldn't be surprised if I do something silly by the weekend, but it's Salah at the moment.
No, I think that's put mine and Az's team to shame, because it's a really, really strong squad. You've got a lot of options there. I haven't got any options with Mitchell and the such like.
Adams.
Just before we go, I just want to mention a lot of the stats we got there from the members area. That's all Opta driven. Comparison tool, rate my team, lots in there as well. Just want to mention Christmas as well, and happy Christmas to everyone. I know I've been reading some comments on Twitter, social media. A lot of people's Christmas plans have been disrupted, obviously. A lot of people unfortunately didn't have any plans anyway, just because they're either socially isolating or they've just chosen not to. So there's a lot of people who are this year spending Christmas on their own, and there's a lot of people who are very disappointed they won't be able to meet their friends and family that they'd hoped to as well. So loneliness is a real risk, and that's where you are lonely perhaps, but not alone. Because if you look on if you're into FPL, which I assume you are if you're watching this, go on the FPL community on Twitter, have a look on the Fantasy Football Scout forum, interact, chat away to people, and listen to lots of podcasts and watch all of us lot on YouTube. And there's lots out there as well. I know from a time when I was at an extended stay in hospital, it really helped me listening to all the people, the voices that I recognise in the fantasy football community, chatting away about fantasy football, and it takes your mind off all sorts of things. Wondering which Leeds midfielder to get in and who has the most chance creation out of the different Man City defenders. But I prefer to think about those things than some of the other things that have been going on this year sometimes. So just want to say a Merry Christmas from all at SCOUTCAST, and we'll be back next week. And it's a goodbye from me.
Last message, Joe. Good night from me as well, and happy Christmas.
And a goodbye from me. Happy Christmas.